everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right in today, embarking on a genuinely fascinating journey to uncover the invisible forces that shape exactly who we are. Have you ever actually stopped to wonder why you act the way you do? Like, why are some people naturally independent risk takers while others are super cautious and observant? Well, today, we're going to decode those mysteries by looking closely at two incredibly powerful, yet entirely completely different, frameworks for understanding human personality.
It really comes down to this profound question. Are you simply a product of your immediate habits and the daily stimuli around you? Or is your personality actually shaped by the climate, the landscape, and the economic survival strategies that your ancestors relied on? This perfectly sets up the sort of inside-out versus outside-in dual nature of what we're looking at today. We're going to examine human behavior through two distinctly different lenses.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. What shapes our personality? The micro versus the macro views. Think of it like adjusting the zoom on a camera lens. On the micro level, we're hyper-focused on the individual. We're asking, how does a person learn to act based on their immediate environment and measurable rewards or consequences? But then, on the macro level, we zoom way out to a broad societal perspective. Here, we're looking at grand adaptations to ecology, climate, and culture. Today, we're going to break down both of these views, and we'll start with the micro. Section 2, the behavioral approach. So to a behaviorist, the absolute foundational building block, the structural unit of personality, is simply the response. Every single time you react to your environment, that reaction is a piece of who you are. In this view, personality isn't some mystical, abstract inner spirit. It is literally just how we learn to respond to the stimuli around us. Basically, our personality develops as our response characteristics change. Throw us in a new environment, and we learn new behaviors. And this brilliantly illustrates the three main ways we learn those responses. First, there's classical conditioning. Think of Pavlov and his drooling dogs learning simple associations to a ringing bell. Then we have instrumental conditioning by Skinner, where our behaviors are shaped by a strict economy of rewards and punishments, kind of like a pigeon figuring out exactly which button dispenses a trait. And finally, there's observational learning by Bandura. Now, while Pavlov and Skinner are focused on very basic stimulus and response mechanics, Bandura takes it a crucial step further. Which brings us to Section 3, learning through observation. Because let's face it, human beings are incredibly complex. We don't just blindly react to bells and treats. Bandura highlighted that we learn by observing and imitating others. And this introduces a game-changing idea. Our thought processes matter immensely. Social learning requires us to actually pay attention, to remember, and to use self-regulation. We watch the world, internalize what we see, and then regulate our own behavior accordingly. Okay, let's move out a bit and see how this builds. We've just covered those immediate stimuli and learned individual responses. But what if the stimuli aren't just immediate rewards and punishments? What if the stimuli are literally the climate you live in, the terrain you walk on, and the food available to your entire society? That brings us to the grander macro perspective of human adaptation. Section 4, the cultural approach. Through this lens, personality is a grand adaptation. It's how individuals adjust to the heavy, very real demands of their ecology and culture. Think about the rituals, the ceremonies, the arts, or even the games a society plays. These are all basically the means through which an underlying cultural personality gets projected. We develop specific behavioral qualities to adapt to the ecological features of our group's everyday life. Section 5, ecology, culture, and adaptation. I'm going to show you exactly how this chain reaction works. So the crucial point is that this happens in a massive logical sequence. It kicks off with step 1, the physical world, meaning the climatic conditions and the terrain. That dictates step 2, how a society survives economically, basically how they get their food. Now that economic reality directly determines step 3, child-rearing practices. Parents naturally raise their kids with the skills they'll need to survive in that specific economy. And finally, those child-rearing practices lead directly to step 4, deeply ingrained personality qualities. So in a very real, tangible way, climate ultimately dictates personality. To really picture this, let's use a vivid, tangible example. Consider the Birhor tribe of Jharkhand. They're a nomadic society, and their main livelihood is hunting and gathering in dense forests and mountainous regions. They're constantly on the move in small bands, searching for game and forest products like roots, honey, and mushrooms. Their entire economic maintenance system is completely built around the forest. Now, what's really interesting here is how that reliance on hunting and gathering fundamentally shapes the children. The Burhor give their youth enormous freedom from a very early age to go out into the wild and learn these vital skills. Their socialization practices are entirely aimed at making kids independent and autonomous. They have to be achievement-oriented and totally willing to accept the high risks that come with hunting. The ecology literally demands risk-taking, so the culture hardwires risk-taking and independence right into their personalities. When we pull it all together, we see this really beautiful common thread: adaptation. Whether you're looking through the micro lens of the behavioral approach, where we learn from immediate stimuli, or the macro lens of the cultural approach, where we adapt to vast ecological demands, the core takeaway is exactly the same. Personality is essentially our brilliant, deeply ingrained way of surviving and thriving in whatever environment we find ourselves in. So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought to chew on. Look at your own habits, your own fears, your own drive for success. Is your personality just a series of responses you've learned from the people currently around you? Or are you carrying the ancient cultural adaptations of your ancestors in the way you interact with the world right now? It's a fascinating question, isn't it? It really changes the way we see ourselves. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope this has left you as curious and fascinated by the human mind as I am. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.